morning, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 47 degrees outside. Tommy Goff, your morning mayor in the house. This is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. Shane and Tom and half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. And, hey, we're happy that you take us along with you. How you doing, Shane? Good morning.
Well, I'm doing great, but, after everything that's going on with all of your Democratic nominees giving stuff away, I want to know why no one suggested that you shut down not shut down, but I mean, just open the border with Canada. It's not like any Canadians want to live in the U.S. anyway.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We don't want all those Vietnam draft dodgers back.
Yeah, exactly. If the Democrats want open borders, it's just then open our border and let's just do this thing and have one gigantic great country club, huge.
Yeah,
right?
well, there you are. Yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll have to work out your money and Mexico's money, since neither one of them are worth anything.
Yeah, and I don't know, but I bet at least 3 provinces would apply for statehood.
You think?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, British Columbia and Alberta, and
Saskatchewan,
Montreal. You'd have to.
We can't have any of those French-speaking frogs running around our country.
Yeah, that French accent, rivet.
Yeah, right. Well, it's time for the KMMS weather wine, where we complain about the weather, no matter how good it is, every morning, either rain or lack of it, or temperatures or something.
Is it a white wine today or a red wine?
Well, it's not too bad a wine today. Well, we're only looking for a high of 68 degrees. Our average is like 94, I think. But anyway, 68 degrees going to be our high. 45 will be our overnight low, and precip about 25%. Nothing to worry about. But, of course, on Wednesday, 74 degrees. Good, but PM thunderstorms. About a 30% chance of those in the afternoon around 2 to your commute home. And then on Thursday, it starts looking a little better. 78 degrees on Thursday, 52 the overnight low, partly cloudy. And then on Friday, 73 and 49, respectively, and mostly cloudy, 25% chance of a rain. Saturday, 74 and 49, partly cloudy, almost no chance of rain on Saturday. Sunday, about the same story, 75 and 49, so it looks like a really nice weekend ahead of us. And then 74 on Monday, but thunderstorms come back in the early to late afternoon, mid to late afternoon, I guess. And then it's sunny the rest of the days on out of the week, so looking like we're pretty good moving into July. July 4th, there is some evening showers predicted on July 4th. About a 30-40% chance of rain in your fireworks evening. So we'll see if that stays or leaves between now and the 4th. But that's what we're looking at. 79 will be the high on the 4th, 50 the overnight low, and mostly sunny. So there you go. Livingston is... What?
I was just going to say, if the clouds are high enough, rain's not so bad during the fireworks if it's hot night.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, you'd be sitting out there. I remember our first fireworks here. We went out to the fairgrounds where they had the fireworks,
Yeah.
We nearly froze to death. It was like 70 or 80 during the day. and it was like 18. It was about 18 below.
Just the way you said that, we nearly froze to death.
We did. We're sitting on the, and I can remember one year where they had it at the stadium that we could see from our house in Bozeman. We went out in the front yard and we're in parkas. Watching the fireworks. Come on.
That's great. I love
Bozeman
it.
Sucks.
Oh, well. Well, remember the 1st is our day, our Independence Day, so we'll be having fireworks on the 1st.
Oh, all right. Good for you. All right.
I'll report them.
Yeah. Well, temperatures around the area right now. Livingston is 43, Manhattan 46, Three Forks is 48, and fair over there. Galton Gateway is 45 and partly cloudy, and Ennis is 42. Big Sky is 38, and at the airport over in Belgrade, it is 44 degrees right now. We're at 47 here at downtown Bozeman at 11 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. And so that will wrap up your weather wine for today.
Well, that's good because, you're running out of time. So, sometimes, some days you have a short report that's good, and then other days you have this long weather report, and then it never turns out.
I know. Well, you're right. Yeah. I might safely predict very little hail coming today.
Yeah, that's right. Or you might safely predict you're going to turn my mic off.
Well, I could do that. Yeah, that'd be true. But hey, what would we do without you for this day in history? When
that's true.
On this date in 1788, Virginia ratified the U.S. Constitution. So now we have Virginia to kick around.
And we've talked about this before. But here's a couple of things we haven't talked about. First is they met June 2nd through the 27th. So this 25 days to do this in Richmond. And in the Richmond Theater, which had been built by the British and is presently the monumental church. It's one of the largest Southern churches, in your country. Anyway, the interesting thing is that I want to mention this because I'm sure people find this. I found it interesting. This was not an elected decision by the people. This was by delegates they sent or that were elected. There were 170 delegates. Now, remember, we've talked about the fact that part of Eastern Kentucky, Western Virginia, was Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And of course, West Virginia was part of Virginia and split off, at the beginning of when the beginning of the Civil War. So anyway, Virginia was a big state. It went right from the coast to the Ohio Valley. So there were 170 delegates. 89 voted for it and 79 against.
Wow. Pretty close.
So this was not like something of 168 that voted, because 2 didn't show up because their horses went lame, I think. Or maybe a wheel went off. Who knows? But anyway, the point is, what does this sound like? The Electoral College. So states had a choice to vote delegates and have an electoral vote, or to have an election and approve it. So Virginia was one of the states that did that. And I think it's sort of important for people to know.
Okay.
One of those things.
From our text line, 478-8298, Montreal is a city. Quebec is a province of Canada, idiots.
Wow. I said you'd have to have French, like Quebecois from Montreal. I didn't well, whatever.
Okay, whatever.
I could have said Montreal, but...
Hey, listen, you probably did. So what?
Yeah, it's a great city. It's a great city, it really is. Yeah.
No, it's not.
Oh gosh, more Texas. Here they come. I could see this. Okay.
Okay. Well, in 1868, we'll see if we can get all the states right. Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina were readmitted to the Union after the Civil War. They decided to come crawling back.
Yes, and it was a very interesting thing. It was not done by any kind of a vote. It was a repatriation.
Yeah,
and that's interesting in that the federal government, at the time, under the leadership at the time of General Grant, he appointed generals to run the states and to bring them back under the radical Republicans' Reconstruction ideas. Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah. 1950 war broke out on the Korean Peninsula as forces from the communist North invaded the South.
And this is
we've been there ever since.
Yeah, that's right, because we all signed an armistice. So we've talked about this before. If something happens, Canada's on the hook with the United States with whatever would militarily happen in Korea. Yeah. But we've done this number, and we've talked about Rocket Man. But the sheer reality of what happened was, the 25th of June, 1950, 27th of July, 1953. And this was a police action. Again, no
war declared.
No war declared, yeah. And, it was a very large group of countries. There's over 20 countries fighting China, the Soviet Union, North Korea, and but the numbers, are one point. There's 1.5 million against 602. Against about 972,000, and the casualties 178,000 dead and 32,000 missing. Total wounded 566,000. That's
Yeah.
not good. Not good. One of those things.
Amen.
Anyway,
Ain't that the truth?
civilians killed. 2.5 million civilians killed. Ouch.
Ouch. All right, we got to take care of our ranchers, farmers, cab drivers, truck drivers, anybody that brings you food, clothing, or booze. Those folks need to be recognized this morning, and we'll have the Montana News and Agriculture, a little bit on the Headwaters livestock and Big Sky RV, and we'll be right back right after this. 22 minutes after the hour, it is Tuesday, June 25th. 2019, 47 degrees outside. And Shane, we forgot to talk a little bit about the Montana connection. On this date in 1876, Lieutenant George A. Custer and 7th Cavalry battled the Sioux and Cheyenne Indians in the Battle of Little Bighorn in Montana. And
That's right.
Yeah. Suffered heavy losses, not wiped out, but certainly a lot of them. Custer's last words were reportedly to have been, "Don't take any prisoners."
Or where did all the Indians come from?
Yeah, that too. So, yeah.
It was sort of a decisive battle because it really, it basically, summoned the end of the Indian Wars in the West because it was the last effort for the Indian tribes the Plain tribes, the Indian tribes to unite against, the U.S. And it's just one of those things that just, it's a matter of attrition, right?
Didn't work.
What it was.
Yep, didn't work. So, yeah, it was Custer Battlefield's another place I haven't been to.
Couldn't you wander?
Haven't been in any of the parks in Montana. Haven't been to Custer Battlefield. So.
Oh my gosh! I think I've been there like 4 or 5 times. Have you been to Mount Rush? Have you been to Mount Rushmore?
I've driven close to Mount Rushmore, not close enough to see it.
Even with binoculars, you couldn't see
yeah,
it
right. Yeah, not even with binoculars. I've driven by it. I've driven by the sign that says "Turn here for Custer" or for
really?
Mount Rushmore. Never. Yeah. I stopped at. I stopped at the drugstore, got the donuts, the Wall Drug. Yeah.
Well, and they have donuts that are in the shape of the president's head.
Yeah. I didn't get any of those. I just got donuts from Wall Drug, and that cut into my time to see Rushmore. So
really?
Yeah. So
Did you buy a postcard?
No, I didn't do that. No, I just got the donuts and headed home. So,
right.
I mean, come on. What their heads on a statue?
Heads on a mountain.
Well, whatever. Well, yeah, on a mountain. I guess that's right. Yeah. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
I love it. That's great.
Yeah. One of these days I'm going to see everything. But I don't know. Just hasn't been in my bucket list yet. So
I just can say your bucket list must look like a computer printout, stacked,
Well, it's on a postage stamp. Actually, it's most stuff I need to see I've seen on TV. So
So you send a postcard anonymously to every place you want to go to say you've been there.
That's it. Yeah. Well, I call them and ask them to send me a card from there. So.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's just an invite, though.
Well, no, the postcard's actually been there, so that's the same as me being there. So. Yeah. So, all right. I digress. 1951. I was 8. The first commercial color television took place as CBS transmitted a 1-hour special from New York to 4 other cities, and it wasn't one I was in.
Yeah, so. And this is amazing because we all know who did the light, the telegraph, the telephone, but who knows who invented the television? The technology for television. 1884. Paul Gottlieb Nipkow.
Okay.
Ever heard that name? Never heard that name.
Yeah, well, probably somewhere along the line, but never stuck with me.
It was a Scotsman,
Not
John Lodge Bard. He was a Scottish engineer, innovator of the mechanical television, demonstrated the first working television system on the 26th of January, 1926. And he was the inventor of both the first publicly demonstrated color television system and the first purely black and white system. Now, remember, this was important to a lot of Americans that they got a color television, right?
It was, yeah. Yeah,
because they wanted
that was a status symbol. You know, you were, you'd go downtown and they'd have it in the window. You know,
That's right.
Yeah, we'd go down to the TV store and we'd watch color in the window. Pretty
That's
exciting.
right. And a lot of Americans kept black and white television to prove they weren't racist. They watched television, black and white. So,
okay,
it was sort of an important thing. But yeah, I remember.
You think it was, huh? You think that was important, huh?
Trying to go viral here, okay?
Yeah, right. Okay, well, yeah.
You can't get away with these calls.
Shane, a Canadian, says black and white television was racist, or color television was racist.
No, I watch television in color. So
yeah, well, you racist pig. You.
Yeah.
1962, the Supreme Court ruled that the use of an unofficial, non-denominational prayer in New York public schools was unconstitutional.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Unofficial and non-denominational, isn't that kind of, I don't know, is prayer the, what would a unofficial, non-denominational thought be unconstitutional?
Consider yeah. When you read the findings, or the decisions of the judges.
Give me a break.
It really came down to words. Like Bill Clinton. Mm-hmm. Well, it depends on the definition of what if is.
Yeah.
Right.
Is, not anyway. If is.
Oh, yeah, is. Yeah. Definition of is. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. 1967, the Beatles. Remember them? Yeah, they performed a new song, "All You Need Is Love," during a live international telecast back then. And 1973, former White House counsel John Dean began testifying before the Senate Watergate Committee. And we've got to take a break at the bottom of the hour here with. We've got Montana State News. We've got Fox News. We've got Brooke Foster with the weather. We've got gluten-free, and this entire show is gluten-free, by the way. So
yeah, well, I'm going back to bed with all that coming on. So.
All right. Go for it. All right. Hey, we'll be back, though. Coming up at 7 o'clock, we're going to have someone from the job service in here. We're going to talk about these. We reported last week, I guess, that Perkins restaurant is closing in July. Taco John's was down for 2 weeks because it couldn't find help. And other places have reduced their employees. So we'll be back to talk about that at 7 o'clock. So stay tuned. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. Tuesday, June 25th, 2019. 47 degrees outside. Tom Eagle up, your morning mayor in the house. And Jeff Krauss will be in at 8 o'clock. And we'll be talking to the job service at 7 o'clock about all the recent hourly hard-to-find employees and things like that. They've also done a report on Bozeman's workforce and where we are, not only Bozeman, but Park County as well. So we'll be talking about numbers of that. So by all means, there you go. Let's see. From our text line, 478-8298, you must be a boring soul if you think watching TV is enough. What a waste. I haven't had a TV for 26 years and haven't missed a thing. Well, good for you. So there you are. It's all depends on what floats your boat, I guess, huh? Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing in this modern age what you can learn from the incredible programs on the education television. It's amazing.
Well, wow. Discovery Channel, you got the History Channel. You can pick up a lot from TV if you need to. But I speaking of not missing a thing, okay, from the texture, and I will. Sometime back, I wrote a blog. If I haven't heard of you, you're not famous.
That's right.
if you remember that, said.
That's right.
So in other words, if knowledge reaches me, then it's knowledge.
That's correct.
I pick up a copy of People, and I don't know half the people in there. So they're not famous. And, they aren't anywhere close to being famous if I don't know who they are, because they haven't reached the common denominator, me, at the end of the line, the end of the spectrum of knowledge.
And the most important thing about it as human beings is sleep. And this is why learning something new every day causes your conscious memory to download to your subconscious memory what you learned.
Okay.
It's new. And you can only do that in REM sleep. So, folks, if you want to get into REM sleep, deep sleep, got to learn something new every day. That's why they say read a book, read some poetry, or something when you go to bed.
Exercise your mind.
Exercise your mind so you go to REM sleep and get that deep, deep sleep. You need 2 to 3 hours a night.
Okay. Well, I think the show will probably put most of our audience to sleep. So let's take a phone call, see if we can wake them up. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Calling you on the air. What's up?
Not me this morning.
Well, good. Us either.
Barely up.
Yeah.
Barely up. We're all barely up, yeah.
Listening to classical music with headphones when you're going to bed is a great way to.
Well, there you are. Yeah. You're supposed to. You're supposed to let your mind kind of level out a little bit so you can get into that sleep cycle.
I really called up to tell you that I think I'm going to run for the presidency.
Okay.
I'm an independent, and what I'm going to give away free beer.
Well, now you're talking.
Now, I bet I win.
I bet you win. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I have to say.
Well, come on. I mean, the budget. You're going to be operating with a $3 trillion budget. Now, that's a lot of beer.
You guys have a good day.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call, and you got my vote.
That's right. So I guess I'd order a keg. What about you?
Well, sure. Yeah. Well, keg a week or every couple days.
Yeah, at least,
Come on.
Like one of those mini cakes. Do you ever have one of those mini cakes?
What is the advantage of having a government program if you can't take advantage of it? I mean, or if you can't overuse it or whatever. Come on.
And then you have to buy a little cooler to chill your glasses, because the beer's free.
Well, yeah.
I can think of all kinds of good things that, create all kinds of jobs from that.
Well, it works for me, yeah. And look, it'll keep our truck drivers and cab drivers in business. All the guys and the farmers, they'll be growing the grain. Come on, this is a great idea. I think this guy should definitely run. Well, we got to run right now and do a couple of things here, and we'll be right back. So stay tuned. It is 17 minutes for the top of the hour, Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 47 degrees outside. Shane Tomlin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. And, hey, our poll question of the day, how long can you last without your computer or internet? How long can you last? We've got several answers for you, so get over and vote in our KMMSAM.com poll or on your smartphone at AM 1450 KMMS, and get over there and vote. See what people are saying. So let's look and see what people are saying so far. We'll get over there and get our results here. Let's see. Reload that. And it says, we've got a 25% tie between a week, a month, and forever, and other. So there you are. I can go forever. They annoy me is one answer. But right now, a week, a month, and forever, and other is lasting. So we'll see. We'll see if the herd breaks away. It's still early yet, so we just got started with that poll. So go over and check it out. Hey, if you don't have the AM 1450 KMMS app, you need to get that because, it does everything. You got the weather whenever you want it. You got Shane and I. You can listen to us online anytime you want. We've got all the stories that are going on around the area about, we got a story about Perkins closing. We got a story about a bear in a closet. Come on. You don't get that stuff anywhere else. You got to get over and get that app and get it going. So all you got to do is just do a search for AM 1450 KMMS app, and or you can go directly to our website. We've got the directions there on how to download it and get it to you. And as we've said before, 25,000 people a month will stream us on their phone or on their laptop or whatever. So why should you be left out? Don't do that. Yeah. Well, in local news, Shane, we've talked about almost everything under the sun that I can think of, but yet outhouses seem to be one we've missed. So,
of course.
So, Hyalite Canyon, the outhouses up at the Hyalite area, outdoor toilets. People seem to be throwing garbage into the outhouses. So, along with the other stuff that's in there. And unfortunately, the hoses can't suck the garbage out, so someone has to physically go in there and pick out the garbage. So, this is another instance where we're having a hard time finding employees.
That's right. I would agree. Yeah, so, it ranks up there with the untouchables.
That's right. So you got to get in there and physically pull that stuff out of there before they can pump out what's left and dispose of it. So in a couple of cases, they've gotten rid of the outhouses, and that, of course, puts people in the woods and could damage our Hyalite River or the Hyalite Stream up there, I guess, and contaminate the water and whatever. So, by all means,
here's another reason to come to BC. In beautiful BC, the provincial parks have running water and they have flush toilets, not outhouses.
Well, come on, we're up in this is the woods, man. This is.
So are we. This is out in the middle of the wilderness. They have running water with bathrooms and flush toilet. That's incredible.
But it's Canada. It's Canada.
You're out.
That would take the whole thing away from it if you have to go out there and. Oh, look! Do they have a IHOP there too?
Well, no. It's just like when you go to these campgrounds, which we do a number of times because people up here, everybody has a trailer, like a boat and everything.
Well, yeah, of course.
And it's so funny watching the people, guys especially, will go off in the woods, and you're walking down the path and you see a guy go up, and you go, there's a flush toilet over there.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I bet they don't have that in the province of Montreal.
Very funny.
All right.
They have gas stations.
Yeah, right. So anyway, if you want a job, you can contact the Forest Service. They'll help you, or the Friends of Hyalite. They'll be happy to help you out. Yeah, because they need somebody who has to remove the garbage before they can pump anything out of there. So, by all means, this may be a job for you. Maybe. Some people say
the problems of living in the first world. You and your outhouse.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Well, some people think they have a calling to certain jobs. So this may be your calling here. I don't know, man. Well, Yellowstone Club, they got charged $370,000 for liquor license violations, and they paid $370,000 to keep their 4 liquor licenses and receive one more after getting caught illegally serving alcohol and hiding booze in a parking garage. So they got a little more booze than they need up there, I guess. So, if you're rich, I guess you can have all the booze you want. But anyway, H&K Spirits Rainbow Lodge Lounge admitted to the Montana Department of Revenue they sold and stored alcohol at unlicensed locations. And the Boot Room and Buffalo Bar and Grill also admitted to acquiring and selling alcohol without a liquor license and attempting to deceive state inspectors by hiding the booze. So, Base Lodge Lounge paid $184,000, Timberline $45,000, HK Spirits $96,000, and Rainbow Lodge $45,000. So there you are. So now the legislature will have some money to work with next time around. Department of Revenue's been hard at it. So we're happy for those guys. Thank you very much.
Well, I have to say your local politics and issues are a lot funnier than your federal ones. It really is. This is great.
Let me tell you, wait till we get to the Livingston parade route.
Right. Exactly.
All right. Before we do that, though, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more right after this. 7 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 48 degrees outside. Shane and Tom on the line with me, half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor, and this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, well, the city budget commission adopt the budget, adds money for housing. Jeff Krauss will be in here at 8 o'clock. We'll ask him a little bit about some of the things on the budget. One of the things is Chris Mell wants $200,000 for housing, $217,000 for workforce housing to provide assistance to prospective home buyers. So, yeah, where was that when I came to Bozeman? Say, where did I go wrong not applying for that?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. Gotta go over there.
I think they should contact FEMA and tell them they want 500 trailers sent to the Gallup Valley.
Well, they're not going to put up trailer parks. You can't put a picket fence in a 2-car garage next to a trailer and call it affordable housing. Come on. What's wrong with you? If you're from Canada?
Yes, I have, as a matter of fact. Yes.
Well, Deputy Chris Mell brought an amendment to tack on 2 mills to the city budget that will equal roughly $217,000. The money will go toward the city's workforce housing program to provide assistance for prospective home buyers. And they also, they proposed a package of amendments, $200,000 to pay for Bogart pavilion repairs since the snow caved it in. And they hadn't kept it up over the years, so now we're out $200,000 to pay for that. $10,000 to pay for an election to decide on a parks and trails district, adding $25,000 to explore providing broadband internet throughout the city. So these guys are just spending money right and left, man. It's pretty exciting to watch them just dole out the dough. On this. I mean, they impose all these parks on us and then they can't afford to maintain them. So guess what? They come to you, right? Let's go to the voters. Yeah, we need to take care of these parks and things. And of course, the Mel also proposed giving an additional $20,000 to Streamline, Bozeman's free bus.
Streamline.
Free thanks to us. $20,000. And in a prior meeting, Streamline director said the $150,000 the city manager allotted to the proposed budget would not be enough. So $150,000 won't run this free bus service. The commission approved additional money, which the service will use to redesign its bus routes. All right, so there you go. I guess they'll shorten them or whatever. I don't know. So anyway,
the thing about selling tickets on a bus, no matter what you sell them for, $1.75, a dime, a quart, whatever, is a running total. At least you get to know how many people are riding the bus.
Well, I don't know how they. I would assume they probably keep some kind of count somehow. I don't know. They come in and maybe the guy's got a counter or something. I don't know. We'll have to ask Jeff Krauss about that.
We should ask him.
They ring a bell or something every time somebody gets on.
Ring a bell. That's good. I like that.
Every time somebody gets on or gets off. So I don't know. Anyway, scary.
I think the buses should play music. Like the ice cream trucks did, so people know it's coming.
Yeah. Well, that'd be a good idea. Yeah, because you see them standing at the bus stop, look at their watch all the time. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Gallatin County is going to present its preliminary budget for the next fiscal year at a public meeting Tuesday at 9 a.m. The presentation will include the county's projected revenue and the money allotted to each department, and the budget will change over the next couple of months as the Gallatin County Commissioners get a more complete revenue picture and consider funding requests. So public hearings will be held during the Commission's regular meeting, July 16th, 23rd, 30th, August 6th, and August 20th. And the budget is already already tight because of decisions commissioners have made over the past 2 years. And although the commissioners raised salaries last year, they're giving another raise this year because recent studies indicate county salaries remain low. And I've been on that salary committee. I didn't make the meetings this time because they changed them to the morning, and I work in the morning. So I wasn't able to go this time. But we have looked at various costs and things in other counties in our state, and we have been a little below payment of goods and services of employees and things like that, and attracting good employees too. That's also an issue here. So
that's right.
There you are.
And the other thing too that I found interesting looking at the news today, by the way, is that the jury in Great Falls, that with regards to that fatal shooting, they said it was a justified shooting. But the interesting thing is that in a lot of Republican states, these issues happen. I mean, police shoot people, it's investigated, and some go to jury like this one does. Mm-hmm. But there aren't like riots and demonstrations and stuff. I mean, it's a terrible thing.
Yeah.
But it's interesting the contrast between minority groups in some states and normal, basic, ongoing life issues in other states.
Yeah. Well, that's how it works. That's just the way it is. Exactly. So, all right. Well, coming up at 7 o'clock, we're going to be talking with Emily Klungtvedt, who is with the Job Service, and we'll be back to talk with her right after the news at the top of the hour. And Jane, we got a caller on the line, but I don't know if we'll be able to. You'll be able to talk to him, but we're not going to talk about anything other than jobs. So.
All right.
So hang on. We'll be back with more coming up right after the news at the top of the hour, so stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 6 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock. It's Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 49 degrees outside. Tommy Goliff, your morning mayor in the house. Shane Taubin, half man, half amazing in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. And we want to welcome Emily Klungtvedt. She's an economist with the Job Service Office. And get that a little close to you. There you go. We'll get you on here. Yeah. Welcome. Yeah. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me here.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about you. Are you a transplant? Are you a native? Or
I am a transplant, and I almost feel ashamed of saying that. But I've been in Bozeman only for about a year now, but I've been in Montana for close to 10.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Well, I am too, so we all are, I guess.
Yep. Originally from Minnesota. I'm one of the many Minnesotans here.
Oh, yeah?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, we do have a lot of them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You must be a Vikings fan.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. Well, good. How'd you get involved with the Job Service? What was your background? Or if you're an economist, I guess you've...
Yeah. So I've been working for Montana's Department of Labor and Industry for the past 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I worked up in Helena for 2. So technically I work for the Research and Analysis Bureau. And what they do is they look at data, labor market data, and provide that information to the public. But I'm in this unique position where I get to work out of the Bozeman Job Service office. So I'm located here, and I get to collaborate with them and talk to them. And they're really interesting to talk to because they see businesses and job seekers every single day. So it's from a data perspective, it's nice to work out of the Job Service office and work with those people.
Mm-hmm. Well, your work involves analyzing Montana and the Bozeman labor market. So what are some of the basic facts about our current situation here? That's why I wanted to have you in, where we got stores, Perkins restaurant's going to close, and Taco John's was down for 2 weeks because they couldn't find employees. So what's our current situation here anyway?
Yeah, well, I think the first important thing to remember that these tight labor markets that we're seeing, and when I say tight labor markets, that really just means that there's few workers available to fill the job openings. Like you were saying, people are having a hard time. But I think it's important to remember that these tight labor markets are all throughout the U.S. right now. Mm-hmm. What's interesting about Montana and Bozeman as well is that our unemployment rates have been lower for a longer period of time. So the U.S. just reached below 4% in 2018, whereas Montana has been below 4% since 2015. And Bozeman or Gallatin County has been below 3% since 2015. So we've been in this situation for a little bit longer than the rest of the U.S.
Yeah. I've always equated it to if you're on the coast, you get the crashing waves, but out in the middle of the ocean, you just kind of go up and down a little bit. Just kind of sit there and rock with the boat.
Yeah.
So, well, at that low employment, businesses are having a hard time finding workers. We hear a lot, Taco John's, and, we talked about Perkins closing and all of that. So the shortage is obviously, is it affecting all aspects? Are we having problems finding technical workers or?
Yeah, so I think it's just with Taco John's and places like that, it's just so visible that when we see those help wanted signs everywhere, so it seems like the problem's everywhere, and that might be the case. But one thing I wanted to point out was that during the times like this, some of these lower wage industries are affected disproportionately because workers will use it to their advantage to move up to that highest paid job that their skill set lets them be in. So I think that's important to remember. And you might find some businesses in this area who are saying that they're not having problems finding workers, but it really just depends on the wages that they're paying, the skills that they're demanding, and things like that. So one thing I think of is Bozeman specifically is we have a very highly educated workforce,
right,
with a lot of bachelor's degree workers in this area. And so if employers are looking for people with bachelor's degrees, there might still be some people looking to move up into those roles.
Okay. All right. Well, let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the air with Emily Klungtvedt. What's going on?
Well, this is Clint, and good morning, Emily.
Good morning.
Well,
your volume's right here if you need it.
Well, here's what I got to say about this. I've talked to one of the managers at Walmart. He says he can't get anybody to work. And I asked him why. He says, well, nobody applies. I says, do you ever think about paying a living wage? I says, how in the hell can a person live in Bozeman, Montana, when you're paying $1,000 to $1,100 a month for rent, besides garbage and everything else, on a $13 or $14 an hour job? Well, you can't. You just can't do it. There's a lot of workers here, a lot of them, but they cannot afford to live in Bozeman, Montana. And the reason I'm telling you all this, I have renters that rent from me, and they tell me their stories and what's happening. Some of them's got two. I got a granddaughter that's got 3 jobs, educated too. She's very well educated. Now, what you need, what we got here is a Vail, Colorado. It's growing and growing, and it's growing for the very wealthy people. People are coming from California. They're coming from New York, Connecticut, all over here. And why? Because we are one of the sports capitals of the world, as far as I'm concerned. And they've turned this farmland and stuff into what? Housing. Houses and houses and houses.
Real quick here. I don't want to take all of Emily's time.
Yeah. Well, the thing is here, Emily, until the employers start to and can afford the city of Bozeman tax thing is way out of proportion. And until they can afford to pay a worker a decent living wage where they can afford to rent these high-priced apartments and condos and stuff, it's going to continue the way it is. There's nothing anybody can do until that's changed. And so I'll hang up.
All right. Okay. Thanks a lot, Clint.
You bet.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's certainly a perspective, but an employer can only pay what an employer can pay.
Yeah, and I can't really advocate for any businesses to do anything. So all I can really do is say what the current situation is. But that is a common opinion. I've heard that several times, but everybody has different opinions on that matter. Yeah.
Is the job service working on the employee shortage, or what are you hearing, I guess, from employers that call you and say, hey, I need people, and who do you have, and what's going on?
I don't get to work directly with the employers. That's just the job service staff. Right. But, they're definitely noticing what's going on in the situation. And the Job Service Office helps in a couple different ways. They can try to connect some job seekers to businesses. And so what they specifically do is if you're a job seeker, which I know there's not a lot of job seekers at this moment, but maybe you're looking to find a different job in general, you can go in and they can help you with resume and cover letter writing and other supportive services. They can help you provide information on the labor market. What are some fast projected job openings? They can provide that information to you. They can also refer you to other programs as well that might be helpful. And Job Service also works with businesses, and they do similar things. They can provide that labor market information for them. They can provide wage information to make sure that you're actually paying your employees competitively in the area. They can help you post job openings. They can also refer you to other programs. And for example, one is the Incumbent Worker Training Program, which provides some grant money for small businesses to help you train your current workers to make sure your current workers have the skill set that they need. And another program they can refer you to is our Registered Apprenticeship Program, and that staff actually works directly out of the Job Service Office as well.
Okay. We're going to take a short break here, and we come back. We want to talk a little bit about you did a report, or your organization did a report, and I want to talk about Livingston and Gallatin County, Park County, how those numbers are changing and what's going on there. So if you're just joining us, we're talking with Emily Klungtvedt. She's an economist with the Job Service, and we'll be right back to continue the conversation right after this. 18 minutes after the hour, it's Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 51 degrees outside. Jay Matavin on the line with me, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. Being awful quiet up there, son.
I'm just getting ready.
Okay. Yeah. Emily's going to need her headphones to hear you, I guess. So
that's right.
Put them on. I forgot about that. So let's see. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Emily Klungtvedt, who's an economist with the Job Service. And let's see. Let's talk a little bit about registered apprenticeships and the worker shortage. Can businesses use apprenticeships?
Yeah, so I wanted to bring up apprenticeship because I don't like those headphones.
I know, yeah, that's okay. You don't have to wear them.
I wanted to bring up apprenticeship because it's a tool that employers have if you're getting applicants applying for your job, but they don't have that skill set you need. Sure. Apprenticeship's a way to provide on-the-job training that might help with the situation. And when we think of apprenticeship, we normally think of the trades. So electricians or plumbers are our most common apprentice programs. But it's really expanded into other occupations over the last couple of years as we've noticed workers need a tool to help train people for their occupations. So it's expanded into healthcare, information technology. We have some master brewers at some breweries as apprentices. And so I wanted to point this out because if you wanted to use apprenticeship with your business, you just need to reach out to the Job Service Office. And an added bonus, for each new employee you hire as an apprentice, you get a $750 tax credit. And if that apprentice is a veteran, you get an additional $750 on top of that.
Wow. Okay. So that's at the end of the year when you do your taxes.
Yep.
Yeah.
With your state taxes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, one of the things in the report you did, payroll jobs are growing quickly in Gallatin County, an average annual increase of 4.8% between 2012 and 2017. The accommodation and food services, construction, and healthcare industries added the most jobs at this time. And construction, obviously, I guess, is leading the way on that. You know, as I often say, you can't swing a cat without hitting.
Yeah, we see signs of construction growing all over the place in this town as well.
Yeah. You also point out the high-tech industry is supporting Bozeman's economic growth. High-tech businesses make up 60% of jobs in the professional services industry and 46% in the information industry and 12% in manufacturing. So that's I guess, kind of a positive thing that we can look at, of course.
Yeah, and that's interesting, too, because with these new businesses moving to the area or entrepreneurs starting their new businesses, they're bringing these high-wage jobs to the area, and they're really helping to bring average wages up, specifically in Bozeman.
Yeah. Population growth in Livingston is accelerating, likely in response to Bozeman. Livingston's population grew at an average annual rate of 1.4% from 2012 to 2017, accelerating to 2.2 from 2016 to 2017. And in comparison, the remainder Park County population grew at 0.06 or 0.6 and 1.1 in 2017. So. And I think it's really interesting when we talk about the average annual wage. Gallatin County had the 9th highest average wage among Montana counties, $42,611 in 2017. Other sources of income from a high level of entrepreneurial activity helped increase Gallatin County overall. And per capita income was $51,750 in 2017. That's third highest in Montana, which is sort of explains why it's expensive to live here. You got to make about $50,000 to just be able to do the things Clint was talking about, rent an apartment, and you are without roommates if you don't have any.
Yeah, and when you start adding on housing costs and transportation costs and child care costs, if you have all that too, it gets expensive.
It gets really pricey. It really does. Yeah. Park County, this is really interesting, I think. Park County's improved. They had the 40th highest annual wage of $34,101, and other sources of income significantly improved their income. Park County had the 11th highest per capita income in Montana at $47,000, so they're coming up as well.
Yeah, I that's actually kind of a mystery to me, but their wages aren't very high, but when you add in the other income sources, like maybe money from rent or dividends or business income or anything like that, all of a sudden Park County has really high incomes, which is interesting. I think.
Yeah. Well, that's why you do what you do. You know, you go in there and you find these anomalies that it looks like when you go over to Park County. I think a lot of people maybe listening in Park County saying, "Hey, I'm not making $47,000. What's going on?"
Yeah.
Who are these Park County people are making all this money?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a mystery.
Yeah, it is. So, what about retirees? We talked a little bit about we talked about veterans also, but retirees and veterans, how is that helping? I know a lot. Well, I'm retired and I'm sitting here, so
yeah,
mostly because I want to be, not because I have to be.
Yeah, I think that's becoming more common. People are retiring and then they're working again because businesses they're having a hard time finding workers, so they're bringing these retirees back into the labor force. Yeah. What I think is interesting about retirees is back in 2010, about 15% of the population was age 65 and older. Now that's moved up to 18%. So we're really seeing this shift in age groups as that large baby boomer population ages into retirement.
Yeah.
And something else too, of the people not working in Montana, about 60% say it's because they're retired. So if businesses want to look into a group of people who aren't working, like you said, you're working in retirement. Like this is a group of people, the largest group of people who aren't working.
Yeah. Well, I think I think some people, I've talked to a lot of retired people that, retirement is nice for about the first month, and then they wonder what I do with myself. I could only watch so much Law and Order on the daytime TV.
Yeah. And especially if it's maybe a part-time job or flexible hours or things like that, that might be an incentive to work again because it's something different than you did during your normal career.
Yeah. Well, in many cases too, people who have experience in a particular industry bring a lot of information that to younger workers. They can be trainee or training people or
consulting work.
Yeah,
perhaps.
Consulting, things like that.
Yeah.
If they've run a business and kind of know the area, they can help a new business that's relocating to Bozeman, perhaps. And,
provide their expertise to new workers, I guess.
Yeah. Well, obviously, high housing costs are the are the deals here. That the city keeps talking about affordable housing, but we don't see it when a vacant lot goes for $300,000. There's something wrong with that.
Yeah, housing's got a little expensive, and housing costs affect employers' ability to recruit new workers to the area.
Right.
So Bozeman has such a low unemployment rate that on average, the entire U.S. has low unemployment rates, but there's pockets of areas where there might not be quite as much employment growth. So employers are trying to lure those people to the area, either through remote work or otherwise. But high housing costs really limit the ability to do so.
Yeah. Are wages actually going up?
They are, and so I think because we've had low unemployment rates for so long, wages have actually gone up faster in Montana and Gallatin County than the rest of the U.S. I have updated numbers. So from 2013 to 2018, wages went up by a rate of 3.9% on average in Gallatin County compared to just 2.8% throughout the rest of the U.S. So we're really seeing that wage growth in this area. And like I mentioned earlier, wages are going up partially because of increased competition. As employers are struggling to find workers, they're raising their wages. But they're also going up because we have those new businesses coming in, and they're kind of skewing those average wages up as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've noticed, we keep track of the national workforce participation rate, and it's been about 62, 63, somewhere in there. It hasn't really moved, even though, during the Obama administration at its worst, when we had the meltdowns and all of that, it was 10%, and then it's, now it's down to 4% or below. But the workforce participation rate doesn't seem to have increased, and is.
So I think there's two things going on with that. So during tight labor markets, more people are moving in as job opportunities become available. But we're also seeing that increase in the population age 65 and older. So while job opportunities are bringing people in, people aging into retirement age are leaving the labor force. So that number is kind of staying relatively equal. They're kind of balancing.
They're balancing each other out because the retirees are coming out. So
yeah.
All right. Well, hey, we want to thank you for being here. We're out of time.
Well, thank you for having me.
And it's been very informative here, and we hope that employers listening to us will contact the Job Service. They can provide employment manuals for you for employees so that you hire and fire properly, I guess, if you have to.
Yeah, and we're happy to help in a variety of ways, so feel free to give us a call.
That's right. Veterans, too. They got a veterans person over at the Job Service, too, to help with veterans. And you can get some additional money for helping veterans. So, Emily Klungtvedt, thanks very much for coming in. You're getting married. You're going to change your last name. So.
Yep. We were struggling over how to pronounce my last name.
I know. Yeah, I had to have her come in and phonetically do that for me. So, hey, we appreciate you being here very much, and thanks for all the great info.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back with more with Jeff Krauss right after this. 23 minutes before the top of the hour, and Shane Talbot on the line with me, half man, half amazing. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. Welcome to the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And, the markets are setting new records, Shane, so what's going on?
They are. Well, it's your 401k update, and the Dow is up modestly at 15, 743. Standard & Poor's 500 is down 2. Nasdaq's down 12. The FTSE in London is just modest up 3, but the rest of Europe's down. DAX is down 7 in Germany. The CAC 40 in France is down 3. The Italian FTSE is down 85. Spain's IBEX is down 49, and Russia's down 15. So we're looking at this because Asia is just moderately adjusting with the problems in Hong Kong and everything, and even Japan is showing some shakiness, and they're having the G20 there, so you'd think that might show some strength, but no, the Nike's down 92 today, Shanghai's down 25, and the Hong Kong market's down 39. So the concern I have, of course, in the commodity side of the market is, oil is coming back at 58, up from, like $50, $51, and Brent in Europe, 65. Natural gas is 227. It's off modestly. Your gasoline average price, U.S., 188. Heating oil is 191. But gold, my goodness, look at this, up $10.90 to 14.27, running to 1,500. Silver's at 15.45. We haven't seen this like in 8 years. Remember, about 8 years ago, it got to 15.75. Soybeans moving rapidly up at 9.13, up 3.75. Wheat at 5.41, up 4.25. And the one thing you got to worry about is corn, because, there's so many things, that corn is used for. It's in 80% of the processed foods in your country. It's 450. It's up 475. Live cattle is modest at 107. Poultry at 472. Feeder cattle 131. Lean hog 73. And copper and the other steels, the other metals aren't moving much. Steel is up 27, which is a bit interesting. Aluminum's up 25. So the reason I mention this, folks, is these are markers, because the 30-year bond is down again at 2.01. Or excuse me, the 10-year is down to 2.01, and the 30 years at 2.54. And so I'm giving the context because even the currency market isn't even moving in any major direction today. The euro's at 138, pounds at 120, or the euro's at 113, and the pound's at 127. And the yuan in China is dropping, which is sort of interesting. It's under 6.9. And the one we got to be watching that I'm concerned about is Mexico's, it's moved up against the U.S. dollar at 19.22. But when you get back to these commodity markets that we talk about, it looks like, as we say, money's chicken and it's running to gold. My guess is it's the Middle East. And certainly I think with the executive order that more sanctions that the president signed with regards to Iran, I think the Iranians are running to gold in particular because of their concern of what, may be happening to their country and their need for foreign currency, which they can't get because they can't sell oil.
Right.
They're going to gold because they're going to need it maybe to, support their economy because of the sanctions. So we got to watch this, folks, because these are the kinds of things where something that's unexpected, North Korea, Iran, something somewhere, the talks with China, whatever it might be, could, cause the market to reverse itself, which, of course, we don't want to see.
Yeah, I agree with you on the Iran deal. That's the only explanation for additional sanctions and things on them.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's causing other countries surrounding them to do the same thing. So I think it's a foreign market buy, not a American buy.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's more profit in the market right now than anywhere else, gold or otherwise.
The Europeans are really concerned too because they've got a lot committed financially to Iran, and when they meet, in Osaka this week in Japan at the G20, your president's going to give them this, come to Trump talk,
yeah.
You guys have to make a choice now, Iran or us. This is not going well for Europe.
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting situation.
Well, that's the whole thing. I think when Iran attacked those two oil tankers, they thought they would send oil to $200 a barrel again. But us being virtually independent of foreign oil, that didn't happen, and now they're paying the price for that they didn't expect. Yeah, so. I think they were expecting some kind of a military retaliation, or they were hoping for it, because they knew that would be the easiest way to get Trump out of there, would be some kind of a military attack. And
right.
I think holding off and doing stronger sanctions, and particularly he's putting sanctions directly on the leadership, the Khomeini, as well, their assets. So that's going to be painful for the leadership, not having control of their funds in foreign banks or wherever they happen to be laundering it, I guess.
Well, they are, and principally through Switzerland, of course, because Arabs and people, and even the Palestinians, they do all their banking through Switzerland.
Yeah. So
being a neutral country, the U.S. can't do anything about that and shouldn't.
That makes sense. That's why you put it there. So
that's why you put it there.
All right, we'll be back with more right after this. 14 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Tuesday, June 25th, 2019. 56 degrees outside. We're looking for a high in the mid-60s. Shane Matobin on the line with me from Vancouver, British Columbia. Half man, half amazing. We're talking about the market, what's going on with the markets these days, and boy, it's I don't know. You would think with everything that's going on in the world with the tariffs and the and the talks with the Chinese and Russia and China and North Korea getting together, having a tea party with each other, you'd think the markets would be tanking, but what's going on?
Well, and the other thing that's interesting too is Bitcoin. We've been watching this now for a month, and it's back at 11,260, up $235 today. So I mean, I see it as a commodity because they trade futures on Bitcoin now in Chicago. But yeah, it's one of these things that we always talk about and we follow closely because it's so important and relative to everyone's life.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. Yeah.
Well, it is. You wonder, there's so many choices here where to put your money. You're not sure what to do with them,
Exactly. Well, and the last block you had is so important, too, because, your president's talking about 160 million people being employed in your country. 125.5 million people are in private sector jobs. So, I mean, that's 78%. That's a huge jump. So it's interesting because, you only have 15 million union workers, government workers, of course, 24 million in your country, federal, state, local. Yeah, so it between the private sector and 401ks and the market as a whole, it's one of these things that's very relative to his reelection campaign and the direction it's taking, right? And so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, it will be. Well, and also, too, yesterday, we had the big announcement from him, the executive order telling hospitals, insurance companies, and doctors and pharmacists and all these guys to start revealing their prices. You can't go down to the hospital and ask how much an X-ray is.
Well, that's right.
They don't know. They're going to have to know.
I heard an interesting contrast about it, and I can speak to it because I've experienced it, but in both our countries, eyesight and dental aren't covered, right? I mean, even under our government, they're not covered, which, when it comes to eye surgery, when this started 30 years ago, it was like $25,000 to do this, and now it's down to like less than, $3,000 to have your eyes done. And as an example of competition, right? Because there's competition for it. Yeah. And because it's not covered by really any kind of health issue with the government or, you can get insurance and stuff, of course, for it. But it's a prime example about how competition drives prices down. So I think this is brilliant that, the way to create some competition is for people to see what it costs to get an eye or an MRI, right?
Sure. Well, look at Walmart, for example. Whether or not they can hire people or not, or whether they pay a living wage or not, they do two things really well. One is that they hold prices; they make everybody competitive, and also they curtail inflation.
That's right, and I'm surprised, to be honest with you, in some of these big box stores, like Albertsons, or not a food store, but like Walmart or even Home Depot, why they haven't considered putting in clinics, just medical clinics as a way to bring people in, right? Because we have medical clinics up here that you can go into, and of course they're covered by your health insurance. And it's sort of important because, otherwise, even if you have a doctor, it could take you a week to 10 days to get an appointment, but you can go into a health clinic and, get checked on something.
They'll see you right away, yeah. Well, we've had several clinics spring up here. Not in stores, but certainly, around the area here. Some are operated by the hospital and some are independent. But Billings is going to open one over here as well. So, there's several places we can go for urgent care or whatever. We got a caller, Shane, but I am going to take a break, and we'll be right back. So talk to them and see you shortly right after this. All right, it is 6 minutes for the top of the hour. Jeff Krauss will join us coming up at 8 o'clock. Tommy Gloff, your morning mayor. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. We got a caller waiting on the line, so... You're on the KMMS Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Well, Bitcoin is the coin of the realm for underground kind of criminal transactions.
Yep.
Yeah, and so with these sanctions, Iran's oil has been kind of turned into the opium of the world, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So what would stop Iran from transacting oil in Bitcoin?
Which we were talking about during the break, and I was saying to him, one of the biggest players in Bitcoin are the Chinese, and particularly the government.
Yep.
So I think it's a really good call on the caller's part to suggest that that's how Iran is probably getting paid, for their oil.
Mm-hmm. But if the oil is transported in, then we would have a record of where it's coming from, and we could bring action against that nation. Unless it's coming in by pipeline or something like that, but
Well, 80% of the oil out of the Hormuz, and so forth, Middle East, is not going to India and China now. So there you go.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think you'd be able to trace which country is doing it without tracing the where the money comes from. You just have to look where the ship's coming from.
I just don't think your administration would want to bring it up because it's too. Then they'd have to explain to everybody what Bitcoin is.
Well, yeah.
Well, that would be a hard time especially when Iran has called the U.S. retarded.
Yeah, well, I think they have a case.
When you're the mad dog in the world, it's sort of easy to call the United States retarded, right?
So, under the maritime law, the United States sanctions are not allowed to interrupt shipments, correct?
Well, they probably can't, but they could certainly see where the ship came from.
No, they can interrupt the transactions, but if Bitcoin is really as underground sneaky as it really isn't, it is traceable. But there are coins that go into a pool that aren't traceable.
Well, I was talking about them tracing the ship, not the coins.
I'm talking about tracing the transaction.
Well, we don't need to trace the transaction. All you need to do is find out if the boat pulls up to up to the port and starts dumping oil. We can say. I think we can safely say that somebody did that. And
anyway, I think what you're suggesting is quite fascinating.
With the law under maritime law,
I'm not going to interfere with anything. I'm just going to go get the ship itself. Where it came from, and I'm going to put sanctions on the government that sent that ship full of oil to Iran. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, how has North Korea been getting all its oil then?
Well, I guess it's from China.
No, because no one's allowed to interfere with shipping.
Well, we don't care that North Korea gets oil. We do care if...
Sure we do.
Well, no, we don't.
Sure we do. We've had strict sanctions on North Korea for years, but they're at the transaction point, not at the shipping point. That's my point.
Yeah, because we can trace those funds, and we don't have to if something starts showing up at Iran, and there's no transaction, then we're gonna find out where the boat came from. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's that simple. Well, the boat came from Iran, and under the maritime law, Iran is allowed. Well, where did the Iran boat pick up the oil? Probably at their port at Bandar Abbas, or at their port facilities. That's why we would bomb their port facilities. Now, where would the oil be pumped into the ship to go to Iran?
Not to go to Iran, to go somewhere else.
We're talking about oil going to Iran.
No, we're talking about Iran selling oil to China and India and getting paid in Bitcoin.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, then I do the same thing. The same thing.
Yeah, that's right. The bottom line is, it's another example of China cheating with regards to their negotiations with your country. Buying oil from Iran is sanctioned by the U.S. government. So, you can bet the
Well, just like buy it at a discount and pay for it in Bitcoin. Yes, that's what they'll do.
Okay.
Well, that's probably what they'll do. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. All right. We got to get out of here. And Jeff Krauss is in the house, so we'll be chatting with him in just a moment. We got to find out about this city budget. Oh, my God. What are these guys?
The bus line.
And the bus line, too. The free bus line that's getting hundreds of thousands of dollars of our money. We'll be right back with Jeff after this. All right, welcome back, everyone. 6 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. It is Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, 62 degrees outside. Shane and Tobin, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. And joining us on the KMMS Morning Soapbox, as he does every Tuesday, Jeff Krauss, three-time mayor of Bozeman and current city commissioner. Welcome.
Good morning,
Thank
Jeff.
you. Good morning. I was listening to you on the way in. It sounds like the markets are tight-roping here. We're just waiting for a reason to take the big dive.
I know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Or it could go the other direction. Depends on the deal with China, I guess.
Yeah, I think it does depend on the deal with China very much so, which is odd. But, you know, that the world has shifted from Eurocentric to Asia-centric, and that's something over the years I tried to convince people in Montana to take a look at as well. You know, certainly if you go to Yellowstone Park, you can see it.
You ever been there?
Never been to Yellowstone Park? No, come on.
No, I haven't.
Really?
As long as I've lived here, 26 years.
Wow.
Haven't been to any of the parks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, it's pretty awe-inspiring, but you got to go at the right time of the year anymore.
I've been to the.
When it comes to Tom, it's, you know, don't cry for me, Montana.
I've been to both Disneylands.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are aspects of the park that are like that. Yeah.
I've been to Universal.
Yeah. It's not quite as filled with concrete.
That's
but
right. Yeah.
After you're done with one of those, you realize you have spent the entire day walking on concrete, right? You know, the giant plate of concrete.
Yeah.
So before you guys get into deep thought about local politics, I have a question for you, Jeff.
Good.
Is there any do you have any idea or overview or opinion about Asian, particularly Chinese investment in property or housing in the Gallatin Valley? Like, do you notice if there's like a lot of it, like in you know, the largest minority in Vancouver are Chinese, you know? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I haven't seen it here.
I think according to the census, our Oriental doesn't even register.
I haven't seen it in Montana. What is very interesting is that Salt Lake to West Yellowstone corridor has a lot of tour buses. You stop in the restrooms and they have that no squatting on the toilet seat sign.
Ooh.
You know, and you're in northern Utah or something where there's just a few ranchers, you know, few rancher boys and guys hanging out there, and you're wondering why we don't have to tell them not to squat on the toilet seats. Well, it is these tour buses. They fly into Salt Lake City and take the tour bus up through the parks. So there are lots of Chinese who, unlike Tom, have actually gone to the two parks.
Yeah.
Part of that, I think, is driven, you know, Yellowstone and Glacier and the west of America is seen as a very safe alternative to, say, going to France, right, where there have been a number of attacks. And I think every time there's one of those attacks, the more people switch over to touring with their dollars to touring America. And so that there is an impact of that. The signs in the airport are not in Chinese or Japanese yet, so haven't seen that. Yes, I've been to Vancouver and seen the the investment in the towers and the residential downtown and the sort of the dense urban living that occurs there. Not seeing anything like that here.
So primarily, you know, the drive and the increase in the real estate in the Gallatin Valley has been American, right? Like people, or Europeans coming in then.
Oh, it's sure it's American, and it's there's definitely a lot of people from California here. There are people that come from the Midwest here. Texans come here. Now there's flights from Houston and Dallas and Fort Worth, and I think we're going to be visited by that some more. What drives people coming to the Valley is Montana State, and also the park. So people come out here to work in the park when they're 19. They decide to stay after a couple of years working in the park. They come up and go to school at MSU. Their parents come live out here because they're here, and that that's, I don't know how many times that story has been repeated over the years, but that is a common story.
Yeah.
And then, the drivers and 6,000 more students at MSU, that's a lot of stories. And then I think the other piece is just we live next to an oil pipeline called the Yellowstone Club, called Big Sky, right? And as long as Big Sky is investing its $700 or $800 million or whatever it is into the facilities up there, not just Big Sky proper, but Yellowstone Club and Moonlight Basin, all of those, as long as all that investment is going in, you're going to see people moving here. There's the vacuum caused by the lack of jobs here is going to pull people in, and then the lack of housing is going to take them out, I think.
Big Sky is not incorporated yet, is it?
Big Sky is not incorporated.
Yeah, they're not an actual town with a mayor and whatever yet.
They got the Big Sky Homeowners Association there, and Big Sky proper. It's kind of a company town,
Yeah, I was going to say, 16 tons. Huh?
Yeah.
Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Call you on the air with Jeff Krauss and Tom and Shane. What's up?
Hey, morning, gentlemen.
Hey.
I just, on this living wage issue, I just wanted to pick you guys' brain, get your sage advice, and maybe hear the three of you dialogue, your comments about that. Because the way I feel about it is, these entry-level jobs, when I was a kid, were never meant to pay a living wage. They were, a job you took when you started off at a fast food restaurant or department store. They were never designed to pay a living wage. And what I'm looking at is where living wages have been implemented, it never seems to work because they're only living wage for very short duration. Because, you reach a saturation point in every industry, and usually in a capitalist market, it's driven by the profit margin. And when you pay people more money and it's, you've got most of the people, I think, in Bozeman who make a minimum or low wage, taking what's left in the housing market, because that's all they can afford. But if they were to be paid a living wage, I think those places would just escalate accordingly, until they once again reach a saturation point. So I just like you guys to dialogue that a little bit, because people talk like that's a panacea, like that's going to solve a lot of the problem. I don't think it would. And if it did, it would only be for a short duration. So I'd just like to hear you guys' comments on that, and I'll listen with anticipation. So thanks much.
Okay.
Yeah. Shane can weigh in here too, because he's out there on the, coast and, up there in Canada. I'm not sure there's an intersection of left and lefter than that, but, but yeah, $15 an hour. So there are conflicting studies in Seattle about that. I've read two different studies that say two different things. One that it has led to a loss of jobs, and one that says it hasn't. Look, I started at $1.15, and I didn't start there. Paper routes, and I used to pick strawberries. I used to have a paper, not a paper route, a mowing route, where I ran a lawnmower. Oh my gosh, didn't cut my fingers off.
Good.
But that's the, and in those days, the motors didn't shut, the spinning blades didn't shut off unless you tried to shut them off. But the, I think that $1.15 an hour was what I started out at McDonald's in the 10th grade, 15 years, 8 months. Went down and got a Social Security number and went to work. And I got fired because my parents wouldn't let me stay out past 10 p.m. on a school night, and they wanted me to work till midnight.
Okay.
And parents said, nope, no midnight. And, so I didn't get to work there but a couple of months. But that led to working at the grocery store. That was a union job. I made $2.25 an hour there. That was pretty good money in 1970. Yes, right.
That's what I made at working factory work back then. And
yeah, and
I was rolling in dough.
And I remember when I went to $2.35 an hour, and man, I ka-ching, right? You can
afford a date.
Dime,
You can afford a date.
And what I would tell you is, I don't think it took jobs away from me in that regard to work a union wage, right? To work $2.35 an hour. I don't think it did. Mm-hmm. This $15 an hour for lifeguards at the city pool is ridiculous. I think if I hadn't had that $1.15 an hour wage, which was the minimum wage at the time, mm-hmm. I wouldn't have got that $2.35 an hour job, which I held for a couple of years till I went off to college. I think you've got to have some kind of entry-level thing, mm-hmm. right? And, one of the things that I hear is, well, we can't, 16, 17, 18-year-olds aren't working here. They're not working in Bozeman. And I know the city only hires you if you're 18. Maybe there are some lifeguard jobs out there. I don't know. But
yeah,
generally it's your senior year. I don't know. $15 an hour seems stout to pay a 16-year-old that's never had a job, doesn't know the rudimentary skills. There are some rudimentary skills you learn, like you have to get up and go to work, right? So you have to be punctual,
showing up,
and you have to negotiate with your coworkers when you need a day off or they need a day off, and will be willing to work. You sacrifice your time. You're really trading your time for your job. You've got to learn that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You have to learn the job. I mean, you have to be motivated to know everything there is, and you have to anticipate the needs of your employer. That anticipation piece, very hard to teach.
Yeah,
I don't want an employee that just does what they're told. I need an employee that anticipates my needs and fills them. And those kinds of job
takes
skills,
ownership of the job.
Yeah, those kinds of job mm-hmm. skills, they're not worth it. Teaching someone those, is that worth living wage? I don't think so. Yeah. And I limited my talk to entry level workers, but there's a ton of workers out there who never learn that, right? Yeah. They got a job, they're entitled to a living
and do as little as possible.
And no, they're not worth $15 an hour. I think the closing of I think you'll see businesses close because they can't get employees here.
Well, that's what we're
and I talk to employers all the time, just can't find employees, and the answer is not pay them more, because if you're paying the same sort of group of employees that won't take ownership of their job, as you said, Tom, what are you gaining? You're not gaining anything.
All right. We got to take a break. Shane, we got a caller on the phone for you to entertain. We'll be right back with Jeff Krauss right after this. 22 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m., we've had a caller patiently waited on the phone with Shane waterboarding them. So let's go to the phones. Caller, you are on the air.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. This is Jack.
Hey, Jack. How you doing?
Hey, Jack.
I'm doing good. I listened to the city commission last night. Sometime a little difficult to do, but I did. And Jeff, at one time there, I think they were trying to get some money for the library. It was the fund for landscaping. What was it, $200,000 or something like that?
So no, $7,000 for library landscaping. It was $200,000 for. We added 2 mills to the affordable housing.
Okay.
Then that's about $210,000. Yeah, $7,000 for library landscaping.
Well, the problem I had is when you told them that you slipped in there and looked around to see what the problem was, and you indicated that the trees had been basically killed because they were girdled by the people that were using weed eaters and chopping the trees as well as the weeds. And I was thinking to myself, okay, that's a real reason there for maybe putting some rules to go along with this money that they're going to get. But the other four didn't think it wasn't even a heartbeat, and boy, they passed that money as if it was necessary to do that, even though you mentioned the fact that they weren't totally using that money wisely. And I thought to myself, these guys like to pass and spend money simply to feel good rather than find out what's really going on when they spend that money.
Yeah, and this is that situation where they've girdled the trees in front of the library. Look, anybody can walk over there and take a look at it, right? It's lawnmower damage, it's string trimmer damage, and I frankly I don't think they have. I don't think walking the city and paying attention to what's going on, it seems to be a lost art compared to just running by ideology. I will tell you that.
Well, you come from a background of accounting, and from the very skill set that you do or did do, that you know what goes into spending and how it's spent, why it's spent, et cetera, et cetera. And it's too bad that the other folks there on the city commission don't pay more attention to that when they're doling out the taxpayers' money.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. This was the last budget I voted on, and I voted for it for one reason, and that is the Bozeman Public Safety Building. And that has been way too long coming. Look, if the county commission at one point in time shook hands with me and agreed that they would sell us 3 acres, what we needed, at the Law and Justice Center, and we would build our own standalone building there. And when the time came to do that, they wrote us a letter and said, no, we won't do it. But had we done that back in the 2000s, almost 15 years ago now, we would have spent $10 million. We would have spent $10 million less on that building.
Wow.
And so there's, those kinds of things over the years, the building a brand new park out there, off of Bridger Drive and letting one of the most iconic buildings in the city rot in the pavilion. Those kinds of things show a lack of responsibility to the people of Bozeman. And yes, my accounting background taught me a lot, but before that, I was just a blue-collar guy. I welded and I hammered and I, worked high-rise construction and did all kinds of stuff. And what that told me was, how to build things and how to take care of things, and that a little bit of maintenance goes a long way, and, when to not put more money in something that was failing. Those kinds of practical, real-world skills in today's world fail against ideology, and it just seems like ideology and the special interest groups rule the day in this country.
Well, appreciate your efforts, Jeff, and everything that you brought to the city commission. We're going to miss you when you're gone.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thanks for listening here and Monday nights too.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. All right. Well, that's.
So, I wanted to talk one more thing. I do believe that the first caller was right about you pay $15 an hour, the market adjusts, and $2 an hour increases in your fried chicken dinner, and and then your housing goes up to charge what the market will bear. Yeah. There are lots of landlords in this town that charge under market. I'm one of them up until now. But if I see an 86% increase in my taxes as estimated by DOR,
you got to do something.
I cannot charge under market. That would be me and my youngest son paying to have a renter, and we can't pay to have a renter. The renter has to at least bear its own weight. We could, but that well will run dry starting in the fall. Yeah, and with the next, and I got to start. My mortgage company will say, hey, there's no money in the escrow account because we had to pay a huge increase in taxes. Your monthly is going to go up $300. That's going to happen, and I got to anticipate that.
Yeah. All right. We got to duck out or pay a couple of bills. We'll be back right after the news at the bottom of the hour, so stay tuned. We're talking with Jeff Krauss, and, well, what's the city up to? We come back, I'll give you the living wage calculation for Gallatin County from MIT, so stay tuned for that. All right, 25 minutes before the top of the hour. Jeff Krauss is in the house with us. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing's on the line, and we've got a caller patiently waiting, or is the caller not waiting? Caller's waiting? Okay. We got to get our hand signals better.
Yeah. This is kind of for the city of Bozeman, Jeff Krauss.
Yeah.
I have therapy at the hospital, and trying to get there is almost impossible. They blocked off, I can't even think the street going up by there right now.
Highland
Boulevard, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so they got that blocked off, and if you're on Main Street, you got to go around to Haggerty and do a bunch of switchbacks. But I always come in, since I'm at Four Corners, I come in from on Kagi.
Yeah.
Well, yesterday they had Kagi blocked off.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, having both.
Then I mean, this kind of poor planning on the city, because the hospital only has Highland Boulevard to get to the hospital. Is there any other way to get to the hospital besides Highland Boulevard?
No, you have to be able to get on Highland Boulevard to get to the hospital.
Right. Yep. Well, when they block off all the, entrance in there, it took me an hour to get there and an hour and a half to get out. It was a nightmare getting out because it was getting close to 5 o'clock and all the people were trying to leave. To me, that's poor planning. They should keep one place like Kagi or Highland Boulevard on Main Street open, and then do one, and then when they get that one done, then do the other. But they don't. They close them both off.
I hear you 100% right now. Peach is closed, and so is Beale. Now, it's not as dire, and so that's two major east-west routes on the north side of town. You can't go east-west on the north side of town. That's not nearly as dire as closing off both routes to the hospital. Mm-hmm. And so when this show is done, I'll make sure that I express that sentiment, and I think I may have already. We can't be working on Kagi until that Highland intersection is done. We just can't. There's no other way to get to the hospital. And Highland needs. The truth is, that Highland and Main intersection needs to be done before we start blocking off Kagi. The only thing I can say is you could you're talking about Kagi east of
east of Highland.
No, east of Wilson.
Church or Wilson.
Yeah.
Wilson, east of Wilson. They blocked it off right there at Wilson. Mm-hmm. And so I tried to go south. I thought, well, I'll find a street cutting over. There is no street that cuts over.
No.
You have to go clear to the mountains and come back. So I had to turn around and come back and go down Wilson to the Main Street, then drive to Haggerty, and they've got that kind of messed up too, and then turn around and do all that around to get to the hospital. That's the only route that you had in there yesterday.
Yeah.
Imagine if you were having a heart attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we were talking about. Like, how the ambulance get there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you think they'd have don't they? I was up there the other day, and they had the stop and slow guys out there, operating the, I got to the hospital okay, but it was in the middle of the day.
At East Main?
No, I was going up Kagi. And they had Kagi blocked off east of Highland, doing some work there, but they had guys at the Highland Kagi intersection there directing traffic to go to the hospital.
So,
but coming back, they would stop you. They wouldn't let you go left or east. You had to go down Kagi.
Yeah.
So.
But you couldn't go down Kagi yesterday, and then you couldn't go down Highland Boulevard to Main Street. So the only way out of there was down through Haggerty Lane, and there was traffic backed up clear up the Highland Boulevard, all along the old Montana Life building, clear down. It wound around, clear down to Main Street.
All right. Well, I think the message is we're not doing a good job either communicating the route to the hospital or making sure it's open. So I'll mention that to the city streets and to the engineer. I'll mention it to the city engineer. Yeah.
I bet that would be that's a major safety issue there for sure.
Well, and the old hospital, there were a lot of ways in and out of it downtown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
that's true.
Where it's located, they need another route in from the west somehow.
Yeah.
And
Well, I got those hills there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They do. But
we need a tunnel.
A helicopter.
We need a tunnel through there.
The city is so worried about their taxes and how they're going to get more money, they don't plan their street deal very good, and it's just a mess. I mean, I'm just about ready to call a hospital and tell them I'm done with therapy until they get these roads taken care of.
Yeah.
Or ride a scooter. You could ride a scooter.
Well, I don't know if you could even get a scooter in there.
Well, I did see a motorcycle going down the sidewalk down by...
I was going to say, yeah. Well, you got that walking trail, but it ends at the hospital. You can't go down Haggerty on a scooter.
No, you can't. But
the rest of it.
He turned from Highland Boulevard going over to Haggerty, and he rode on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want you dusting off your skateboard to get to the hospital, so do something.
Yeah. I'm not sure what I can do.
Jeff's on the case.
I didn't realize we were blocked because I thought you could come up Wilson and go that way, right? Or I'm the same way. When I was going to work out, I went up. I always went up Cottonwood Road to Stuckey and then over and jogged over onto Keggy and around coming in from the west because you avoid all the traffic. And I figured even if Highland is closed, there is that alternative. But if you're trying to get to the hospital and you can't, that's a serious issue. As far as another alternate route to the hospital, look, the hospital chose where it was located, and I think they could not have stayed in the middle of downtown Bozeman forever. That would have
well, the expansion would have been a problem.
Yeah. So I'm grateful for their expansion and their foresight to go out there, but there's not the ways to the hospital are the ways to the hospital.
All right. Well, thanks for the call. We got to take a break. We appreciate it, and thanks for listening. All right. We'll see if we can't get Jeff on that case, and we'll be right back right after this. 14 minutes before the top of the hour, we're talking with Jeff Krauss, three-time mayor of Bozeman, current city commissioner. Tom and Shane on the air. We got a caller waiting. Caller, you are on with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
Oh, hey, guys. It's Kevin.
Hey.
So I travel these streets all day long. I'm right now waiting for dump trucks to go by on Peach, so this is fun. But you can snake your way through the hospital from East Main Street. You just have to turn right above Lindley in those neighborhoods. I think it's Cypress Street. That's right, the street that's first past Lindley Park.
Yeah.
They have a sign there that says there's no access through, but I think that's just so people don't go through there because there is an access through. You just follow that up and around. You can pop out onto Haggerty or onto Highland.
Oh, can you?
So you can go through that neighborhood. It's Cypress, I believe, and maybe it turns into Olive somewhere, but it's Cypress, and it goes all the way to Highland, and you come right out by Heaps on the backside of Heaps, and you can turn right there and go up the hospital.
Oh, yeah.
I do it every Tuesday.
I'm familiar with that neighborhood, definitely.
All right. Hey, thanks, Evan.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay. Shane, you had a point you want to make? Oops, hang on. Go for it. Sorry, okay. I didn't have you turned up because you were talking with a guy on the phone. So start over.
All right. I just want to let people know that we watch the market. And I'm watching it, and the 10-year bond just dropped under 2, so 1.99. So
ouch.
Maybe everybody out there should give your broker a call this morning.
Yeah, there you are. Let's take another.
No, there's just too many of these things that we watch that are happening. You should just check.
I know. Let's take one more phone call, and we got to talk about the Billings Clinic. So
yeah, we need to talk about it. We need to lead with that.
All right. Well, caller, you are on the air. What's up?
Well, I was just wondering if Jeff could relate to his colleagues there on the commission that I'd be happy to put some plastic tree guards out in there for about $7,000.
Okay.
Well, I think they want to add landscaping. So the $7,000 is to add more landscaping or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'll still put the tree guards on.
Yeah, and I know that there are idiot-proof tree guards that you can get because this idiot here, sitting here, has put them on all his trees so that I don't do the same thing. It's very easy to knock the bark off a young tree.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the tree guards, even though they're, what are they, $2, $2.50?
Yeah.
Whatever.
A lot less than a new tree.
Yeah, a lot less than a new tree. Just let them know I'd be glad to come in and do that.
All right.
$7,000. I'd probably make a couple bucks on a deal like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
You should throw a bid in. Throw a bid in.
There you go. All right.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, you too. So,
Bozeman Clinic. Yeah.
So Billings Clinic
Or
came
Billings
in
Clinic,
last night. That was the other thing we did besides the budget, and they came in with a growth policy amendment, which is the underlying sort of this is what we plan to do with this property. It's not zoning. They haven't come in with a zoning amendment, but it supports the zoning.
Is that going out by town pump? Is that what's going in there?
No, it is going out.
I think the hospital ambulatory center is going in by town pump, I guess, maybe.
On Cottonwood.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a billing. That's the Bozeman Health. That's
right.
Bozeman Deaconess.
Yeah, okay.
Going in there. Billings Clinic is going in more or less down Valley Center from Costco, past the three
the hotels.
the
and all
three
that.
hotels, and then up against Davis.
Okay, Davis Lane.
And,
Yeah, okay.
and 27th in there, and that piece of ground, they've owned it for several years now, and they came in to do a.
Is that still in the city out there?
Some of it is, and some of it isn't.
Okay.
Okay.
So all the profit-making stuff will be out of the city.
No, they're annexing in.
They're annexing in.
And
okay.
you got to remember, nonprofits don't pay that much in
I guess
property
that's true.
taxes.
Or impact fees.
Anytime one of these nonprofit hospitals buys a for-profit doctor's office, like a pediatrician or something, the city loses tax revenue, and the rest of the taxpayers start subsidizing them.
So,
that happens.
Okay.
But yeah, and the truth is, whether it was a Billings Clinic or a Cabela's or Bass Pro Shops or whatever it is, that piece of property is suitable for regional commercials because people are coming in there, getting off the interstate, shopping at a Costco or a Winco, and then maybe getting back and going to wherever they're coming from. But that's definitely suitable for regional commercial.
All right, we got to take another break, Shane. We got a caller waiting, and we got to do the Rush update and all of that. Otherwise, we'll run out of time, so we'll be right back. Here's Rush. 3 minutes left, and we've had a caller patiently waiting. Caller, you are on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane and Jeff, and what's up?
Oh, I had a quick question for Jeff, and that is, it seems like over the years, every time there's a big, giant landscaping project by the city, there's kind of a cronyism sort of thing, and the contract seems to go to one of two special good old boy networks. I'll listen to your response offline. Thanks.
Okay, thanks for the call. All right.
I can't believe he didn't tell you he's a bus driver.
Okay, he's a bus driver.
All right. I don't know who those are. While the commission does okay big ones, I couldn't tell you who those are.
Well, there can't be too many landscapers in town that can handle big jobs.
There are a number of them.
Are there?
Okay. The only one that I'm well, I won't even go there. But the one that took the 10 Commandments out of the Sir Optimus Park is not one I would just jump up and do business with. But but there are a number of them. And you've got to have I guess I'm sure there are some kind of criteria. I hear this complaint sometimes from engineers too, that it always seems to go to the same 2 or 3 engineers. So I couldn't even tell you who the landscapers are that get city projects.
Well, bids are public knowledge, aren't they? Or are they not?
There are all kinds of rules on bids. They differ by the amount of the contract.
So some are privy to
35,000 and less is one thing. Probably under 10,000 is one thing. Under 35,000 and over 35,000 and is a third thing. So.
Let me catch up on
sure.
Let me catch up on some text here. Perkins and Missoula and Kalispell changing or closing as well. Does the city parks department mow the grass at the library if they're damaging the trees? We talked about that one already. Let's see. We need fiscal conservatives like Jeff in Washington instead of the spenders and borrowers there now. KMMS has a no squatting on the potty sign to keep Tom grounded. Gotta have that one. And we talked about the Billings Clinic coming to town. And let's see, my 50-year-old daughter just worked last summer with several of her friends. The kids are working, and we need to bring in another hospital to build to keep Bozeman Health competitive. All right, that does it. Shane, say goodbye.
Thanks, Jeff. Everyone be happy, be safe. Talk to you tomorrow, Mayor.
All right, thanks, Shane. All right, that does it, Jeff. Thanks for coming in, as always.
Hey,
Appreciate
congratulations to whoever it is has the 15-year-old daughter working. Good for you.
There you go. We'll see everybody bright and early tomorrow morning at 6 a.m.